Welcome back, and we're still in lesson 5 on securing your resources. And this video we're going to talk about credential reports, encryption, and some compliance. So there's one IAM resource that you should know about, which is the Credential Reports. It's accessed from the IAM dashboard, the Incident Access Management dashboard. A credential report displays a simple interface with no more or less than one lonely button, the download report. The report contains information about the state of your account, security, state of your account and security, listing all your current IAM users, and giving you key intelligence such as when each of them last logged in, whether they have multi-factor authentication turned on, whether they have active access keys, and when those keys were last rotated. This is a quick and fairly painless way to monitor your account for security holes that you shouldn't ignore. So let's go ahead and quickly just pull up IAM Management Console here, and it's credentials report, right? And you just download the report, and then it just opens up. Got it here in a table. I've got the root account, the admin account, and the MFA test account that we just created earlier. And then it tells us when the user was created, when the last password was changed, the password if it's got rotation, if multi-form factor authentication is active, and in our test account we didn't enable it, but we do have. I do have it on the root. I do have it on the other admin account here. Access keys, right? So I have one that has access keys. They're pretty old. I do need to rotate them on this account. Let's see here, and last used by Elastic Load Balancing. So it gives quite a bit of information. I don't have a lot in this test account, but especially for a larger organization that might have hundreds of users, this is an effective way to keep up and current on all the accounts and what the access they have. Do they have any stale keys that need rotated, and do all accounts have multi-factor authentication enabled, which they should. It's almost crazy not to have multi-factor authentication enabled on anything you do nowadays. It's just incredibly important to have that enabled. Alright, so encryption. You should consider encrypting your data just about whenever you store or consume it, whether or not your particular use case and privacy needs justify the effort. AWS provides a number of enterprise strength encryption tools that are convenient and effective and can be integrated into relevant ease in most of the services. So it's almost crazy not to encrypt it. I mean, there's almost no major impact to your services in that for encrypting and decrypting using the AWS infrastructure that automatically does it in most cases, rotates the keys. The encryption keys, the data files used to control an object's cryptographic transformation are mostly managed by AWS, by the AWS Key Management Service, KMS. And so when you select to encrypt an AWS resource, KMS will apply encryption using a customer master key that's been generated especially for your account. and then you can even manage the keys, including creating new keys or scheduling the deletion of old ones through either the KMS dashboard or the encryption keys page within IM. So what can be encrypted? Just about any data managed by AWS, including Relational Database Service, RDS. The DynamoDB databases can be encrypted. Your elastic block storage, or your disk on all your EC2 instances that you attach to your EC2 instances, they can be encrypted when you create them. When they're encrypted, those resources will, for all practical purposes, be unreadable without the decryption key. AWS will invisibly decrypt your data only when the access request is accompanied by successful authentication. So an encryption for S3 works in much the same way, but there is a twist. You can have S3 encrypt the objects of a bucket at any time during or after bucket creation, and you can select either S3 managed server-side encryption keys or KMS managed side encryption keys. Either way, the process will often all take place under the hood without requiring any further input from you. Besides ensuring that the wrong people won't be able to read the objects living in your S3 buckets, you also have to worry about bad guys intercepting those objects while in transit from your local infrastructure client side. So client side is a bit more complicated. You'll need to encrypt your data before uploading it into S3 using either KMS managed keys or a client side master key. The keys that key will then be used to manage, encrypt, and decrypt throughout the data lifecycle on S3 platform. But encryption is made super easy. So it's almost crazy not to encrypt your data when you're storing it in Amazon, either on your EC2 instances or in S3, or even your DynamoDBs. It is super easy, automated. So the data at rest should be encrypted. They also make it fairly easy with CloudFront and that to encrypt web access to S3 data or your EC2 instances, so that it can be encrypted in transit. So there's almost no excuse not to encrypt it, and there's almost no overhead to the encryption process. So even if you don't have a use case for encrypting the data, you might just want to. And then regulatory compliance. So for example, will your application you plan to run on AWS be processing credit cards? What about any health records or personal employment histories or restricted military information? Are you sure that AWS security and reliability environment is good enough to meet the regulatory standards required by your industry, the government, or the credit card industry? These are questions you'll need to answer before you dive too deeply into your deployment planning. But where can you find authoritative answers? The answer is AWS Artifact. At this point, you may be wondering what's with the name Artifact. Well, the service homepage is a set of links to documents describing various regulatory standards and how AWS meets them. Each of those documents is referred to by Amazon as an artifact. When you choose a link, you're first asked to agree to the terms and conditions included in an AWS Artifact non-disclosure agreement. When you choose the agreement box, the actual artifact will be generated, opening a download pop-up. What's available? There are national documents like the U.S. government's Federal Risk and Authorization Management Program, the Government of Canada's partner package, the Australians' Prudential's regulatory authority, management of security risk and information technology workbook. You also find industry standards like PCI DSS for credit cards, and attestation of compliance with that, and responsibility summaries for handling credit card transaction data. So you'll find all that within AWS Artifact. You'll also find official reports of service organization controls, SOC 1, SOC 2, SOC 3 audits of AWS infrastructure. Those documents can, for instance, be used by AWS customers in the United States as part of their Sarbanes-Oxley compliance reporting. So AWS has done a lot of legwork and created a lot of documentation that shows how they meet regulatory compliance in a number of industries and governments. And so the AWS Artifact is a place where you go and look those up and get that information to help you assess whether you would be in compliance within your industry or whatever you're doing with AWS. So that concludes our lesson 5. We will see you in the next video. We'll cover lesson 6, which is going to cover our AWS resources. We're going to start getting into some of these services and diving in through the management console and starting to use things, and we'll also talk about the command line interface as well. So I'll see you in the next video.